I've always loved being in this small, I'll call Charlotte County small, because we work for each other, and when we're down and out or we need help, guidance through anything, no matter big or small, we'll always be there.
So that now's the time for the healing to continue and to be finished.
Tonight, we're here to celebrate and honor someone known to everyone in this room, in New Brunswick, Atlantic Canada, and well beyond.
And the TV bingo, and that's my special one, because I can sit there and watch it on TV.
Welcome to This Week Uncut, where we take a look at the week's top stories from CHCO-TV and The Courier. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth.
We begin this week in St. Andrews for Truth and Reconciliation Day.
Yeah, it was a beautiful event. We were both there, and what a turnout, over 200 people, because this wasn't an event just for St. Andrews. It was really meant for all of Charlotte County, co-organized by Acting Mayor Kate Akagi, who's a member of the Beskoto-Magadi Nation, as well as Judith Moses, a resident of St. Andrews, who's also a part of St. Stephen's University. So there's a great turnout from St. Stephen's University staff as well as students. But Judith is also a member of the Delaware Nations of the Six Nations of the Grand Rivers in Ontario. So quite a beautiful event. Not the first time they've organized it together. So it was a beautiful sea of orange shirts. It was your first time experiencing Truth and Reconciliation Day in St. Andrews. So what was it like for you to see that for the first time at the point, this gathering by the ocean on First Nations territory?
Attending First Nations events like these are always very emotional for me, and I think it's because they're inviting us into their space and their land to participate in their traditions, and it's very special and sacred, and we need to be honoring that, and so it was very special. But it was also very special to be looking out at the water as well. And, you know, it's good to remind Canadians that, you know, there were residential schools into the late 90s. So this is not a long ago problem. This existed, you know, in the 1990s, even almost into the 2000s. So this is still a very present issue, and a lot of people are still healing, and that's part of this process.
It affected so many, countless lives, generations as well. Mayor Akagi was saying how families are touched by it. She has friends, relatives that can speak to these experiences. So you're right, it still very much is something fresh, something in Canadian conversation, at least at this point in our shared history.
Yeah, and you know, Orange Shirt Day, which you would have seen a lot of people wearing orange shirts that say "Every Child Matters," actually was first observed in 2013, and Acting Mayor Kate Akagi told that story, and she explained that shirt had been torn off. And it was taken away and it was never seen again. And so they've used that orange shirt as a symbol of that healing journey. And so in 2021, the federal government recognized National Truth and Reconciliation Day. It is now a statutory holiday in Canada, and in New Brunswick it is observed as a government holiday. So it is very important, and this is one step. There were 94 calls to action that were developed by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and unfortunately only 14 of those have been completed. So there is a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. I know that St. Stephen's University, known as the smallest university in Canada, it's quite famous, but not just for its size, for some of its programs. And one of the programs they do offer there is on reconciliation. So very, very special to see that in our corner of the world, where we have the Beskoto-Magadi Nation on both sides of the border as well, that we also have this program that is really making people more proactive in what it means to acknowledge Truth and Reconciliation Day, but not just on the day year-round.
Yeah, it's very important. And you guys were at an event last evening with Chief Hugh Akagi. So they're doing, St. Stephen University is doing a lot of work on that reconciliation component, and we could all use that as a model, I think, on how we repair our relationships. Mm-hmm.
And I think that as we have this Truth and Reconciliation Day continuing to grow within our own community, attracting more people to take part in it, and I think just from showing the images on the screen, not just in the news, but on this show as well, it really gives people a reason to acknowledge the day here. If maybe next year you'd like to come out and join us. It really is this beautiful smudging ceremony followed by community prayer, I guess you could call it. It's really like a blessing to the universe, and this solemn walk. I say solemn, but it really is. I think there's something quite rejuvenating about seeing your community walk in nature together in solitude, but united, and walk on the edge of the ocean and just think about what the day means.
Well, and you'll hear from Acting Mayor Kate Akagi in a moment, but she said something that was very profound to me during that interview, and it struck me as something that is very important to understand. And when I was watching the crowd come back, and I was preparing to film them coming back to the point, all you could hear was the drum. And I think that's, such a powerful moment, and you'll hear it in some of the B-roll that we're going to play. So it's very important, and I was struck by that moment, but I was also struck by the things that Kate said. So it's a very important moment in our history, and we have, as I said, a lot of work to do.
Here is our interview with Acting Mayor Kate Akagi on Truth and Reconciliation Day.
But we've had a big group every year that we've done this, except for when we were in the church. When we first started, we were in the Anglican church. And then when COVID hit and we couldn't be close to one another, we moved it here to Indian Point. And every year since then, Judith and myself have done this Indian Point. And we call it Indian Point so you don't forget the Indian. We are here and we're here to stay. So I welcome everybody, and I didn't exclude anybody. In fact, when I met with people, they said they were from Saskatchewan who came here, Indigenous people and people from Nova Scotia. But I prefer the ones that are local, the ones from St. Stephen, St. Mary's, and St. George who came and, and gave us, a hug. I like hugs when they give them to me, so it's great. And we did a smudge, and I thank the people that helped. St. Stephen helped with that. Brent helped with that, and Debbie Lord, and I'm honored to be in their crowd. So the government realized that they had made a mistake, and so they apologized. And then the Truth and Reconciliation Board was convened, and they worked together and came together with 95 calls to action, which was the little book that I had that's all gone, but I will get some more. And they were important and have been important, but unfortunately only a few of those Truth and Reconciliation 95 calls to action have been completed. So we're hoping that now, having the booklet, now being able to read it, that people will be more responsive to maybe fulfilling the 95 calls to action. So and this is the 10th anniversary of Truth and Reconciliation. So we have continued. We have done it since before COVID, through COVID, and now after COVID here on Indian Point, because we feel it is the spot where Indigenous people were originally here in St. Andrews, and so we want to share that with them. I hope they're thinking about the 200 children that they found, but they found more since. But as my great auntie said, they weren't found. Mother Earth kept them safe until people were ready and willing and able to understand why those children were lost for that many years. Because if they had brought them out when the residential schools were first going, I don't think anybody would have been as embracing to what happened. These 200 children that were found just a few years ago were really brought out, and as my aunt said, you need to embrace the fact that Mother Earth kept them safe for that length of time and then gave them back to the people, so that now's the time for the healing to continue and to be finished. And I hope someday it will be, but it's going to be a long process. But we have to let go of the bitterness and embrace another way of looking at it, like turning those rose glasses, but to see that, there's another reason why this was done, and not to hate, because the culture is beautiful, the language is beautiful, the music is beautiful, so we need to embrace all that from the Indigenous people.
Acting Mayor of St. Andrews, Kate Akagi, on Truth and Reconciliation Day in St. Andrews. I know from talking to her, one of her quotes actually inspired the title of the story you wrote for The Courier.
Yeah, I was really moved by what she said, and I thought this is a very, important thing to say. And she's speaking about the first 200 Indigenous children that were found in unmarked graves. There have since been more than 1,000 unmarked graves discovered across the country, and that work is still being undertaken. So it was very important to me to reflect that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Mayor Akagi does all kinds of workshops throughout the year too. So if you want to stay engaged with what Truth and Reconciliation means, by all means check out what they do at St. Stephen's University. But she also does things like drum making workshops, which is a great place to not just learn to make the drum, but talk about the Beskitomagati heritage, to learn the language. And what was neat to see at Truth and Reconciliation Day was how many people, since we've had the first one in the community, now have made these drums, have become a part of it, and prepare for it every year, and that is quite a beautiful thing. I was also able to go on October 1st to the Huntsman, where Chief Akagi, Chief of the Beskitomagati, was awarded an honorary Doctor of Humanities from St. Stephen's University for all the lives he's touched and for the wisdom he's shared with so many people, not only from the university, but in the community as well. He is a wealth of knowledge, compassion, wisdom, and I can't imagine life here without him. So that was really special to be a part of such an incredible celebration of a person in our community.
Yeah, I mean, I've met him a couple of times, and you and I have spoken about his knowledge, and you guys have participated with him in the documentary that you're doing, and there really are we hear it a lot, but they are the knowledge keepers, and so it's very interesting to hear them speak and to have them honored in the community in a way that is very meaningful.
Mm-hmm. I should tell you one story I have of Chief Akagi that I love. I got to remind him of it last night after the ceremony, is that I am working on this documentary on the decommissioning of the Milltown Dam, but really it is about the rejuvenation of the Scoodic River, of the St. Croix River. And Chief Akagi is one of the main people we've interviewed about this, because he's been so key to that. And that was celebrated as well at St. Stephen's University last night. All the work he's done to bring this river back to life that has really defined who the Beskitomagati people are. So we were doing this documentary on the Scoodic, and it took about an hour, I think, the interview. And when we were wrapping up the interview part, Chief said to me, "There's a little turtle that I've been watching the whole time that we're doing this interview, and he's made his way all this way down." So then for the next 10 minutes, we watched the turtle go all the way to the river, and we watched him swim away. And it was really one of the most special days of my life. I will never forget it. And I saw Chief many months later, and he gave me a turtle picture that I still keep very close to my heart, because it meant a lot, and the moment meant a lot to him as well. And he continues to inspire us in so many ways. Here is a look at Chief Akagi's honorary Doctor of Humanities at the Huntsman on October 1st from St. Stephen's University.
We look for someone who has the equivalent of an earned doctorate through long-term world experience in their field or fields of expertise. 2, we look for those who have made a significant contribution of service to society and to their community. And 3, we confer these honorary doctorates on those who have had a significant relationship with SSU, whether in direct service or through our personal connections. So SSU's Board of Governors, chaired by our Continetta, she who makes the grasses wave, Judith Moses, in consultation with our faculty and staff, unanimously and joyfully acknowledges these qualities in our friend and elder brother, Chief Hugh Akagi. We are grateful for his long-time support of our university, and especially his voice in shaping our Reconciliation Studies program. Through his help, we are learning to decolonize education in our university and practice the values of your people. Stevens University Center for Reconciliation Studies, in recognition of a lifetime of service and accomplishment by the authority of the Board of Governors, is pleased to confer upon Chief Hugh Akagi the degree of Doctor of Humanities. And I want to pause there and say, that's a technical name, Doctor of Humanities. In my heart, you're Doctor of Humanity.
Almost everyone in this room have been so good to my people that I needed to say thank you. That's where this comes about. And I thought when I started, I shouldn't be proud. And it's because I was thinking of pride as an individual, some sort of an individual honor, but I'm very proud of my people. I'm very proud of my friends. You're the ones that got me here. I know this is an honor, and that's why I need to share it. And I was thinking about maybe I could pull a dirty trick on you and get out of giving a speech simply by saying, if I gave every one of you 2 minutes at this mic, what would you offer and tell people how we could make this a better world? I don't have time. You don't have time. But you can take that home, do me the favor thinking about it, and finding a way to share that, because this world needs an answer.
That was Chief Hugh Akagi receiving his honorary Doctor of Humanities from St. Stephen's University at the Huntsman on October 1st.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at mandatory training that could be on the horizon for senior staff and municipal leaders.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
We turn now to potential mandatory training for staff and municipal leaders in New Brunswick. Tell us a little bit about this story. I know you've started working on it and it's an ongoing process.
Well, most people who know me understand that I live and breathe municipal politics. So this was a very interesting report. It's come out of the Local Governance Commission, which was created in the spring of 2024. So it is it is a arm's length organization from the provincial government who is kind of overseeing municipal government, and they've tabled their first report. And their chair, Giselle Gauguin, is a former journalist, a former communications director with the city of Fredericton. So someone who has a lot of experience both on the journalism side, but in the municipality side as well. And so some of the recommendations that came from that report was mandatory training for senior administrative staff and municipal leaders.
Okay, what do you think was the inspiring factor that made this something that they are considering at this point in time? Could it be amalgamation that could play a factor? I'm thinking that with municipalities becoming so much bigger, there's so much responsibility now on communities that used to have less to think about, really, both geographically and population-wise.
So in the release that she sent as part of the report, she said these recommendations were this mandatory training specifically around code of conduct, conflict of interest, roles and responsibilities, financial requirements and responsibilities, but also the Right to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, were grounded in information and concerns that they had received from municipal leaders in that first year of existence because of amalgamation. And so what has happened is many communities have brought on leaders who have stepped up for their community, who are not experienced politicians, who don't understand procedural bylaws. And it's a confusing thing to throw yourself into, because oftentimes municipal leaders get involved in their council for a specific issue. They want to advance, an age-friendly community. They want to advance recreation, which is a big thing here in St. Andrews. They want to help advance, healthcare, which is, happening in St. Stephen with the deputy mayor and Councillor Emily Rodas. So all of they sort of get involved, but really when you do get involved, you realize there are limitations to what you can do. There's bylaws, and you actually don't have a lot of governing authority over certain things. And so she's explained that this was born out of these concerns that were raised by municipal leaders.
Okay, obviously a process can be a long and painstaking process at times, but that's kind of part of the point. But again, like you say, democracy means anyone can run, but sometimes that means you are put in a position where you're unfamiliar with exactly what that process is.
Yes, and there's the training around code of conduct and conflict of interest is extremely important, because what happens is if you're in a conflict of interest, but you're like, I'm not really sure if this is a conflict of interest, and in small communities that can be very complicated, you're going to put yourself and the municipality in a bit of jeopardy. And so it really needs to be clear, and they really need to have a robust understanding of what those rules and procedures are. Code of conduct is an entirely different can of worms, and I would love to spend more time talking about code of conduct. Code of conduct in New Brunswick is extremely secretive. Essentially anyone can file a code of conduct complaint about a councillor. Whether that complaint is founded or unfounded is then later determined by legal counsel that is hired by the municipality. But none of the information is ever brought forward to the public. The complainant is kept protected. The other thing that was recommended in this in the series of recommendations in this first report was proper protection for reprisals against complainants. So there had to have been some impetus for the commission to have realized that there may have been reprisals against people who were complaining about their members of council. So it's all, this is all very important training. And the idea is that it would be done within the first 6 months of someone's appointment as, a CAO or a treasurer or a clerk, or within 6 months of being elected to office. So a short timeline. It remains to be seen as to whether they can get that done before May 2026. We know that the wheels of government move extremely slow. But I spoke with Dan Murphy of the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, which is like kind of a membership organization, who has been doing a lot of this training work already. And he said this aligns perfectly with what they've already been doing. But their training isn't mandatory. People sign up for it and they kind of participate in it as they want to.
I wonder if it could be something, I wonder if you were curious about being on council, that could still be something you sign up for. I think obviously maybe knowing the ropes of how it works might actually inspire more people to run. There is that possibility as well. I think sometimes when it seems overwhelming, you think maybe it's not for me, but if you were able to attend training and see that it is really about just understanding the process, then maybe stepping up for your community would be an easier decision for a lot of people.
I wish we had more time. I would talk a lot about why municipal councils have a large difficulty finding people to actually step up and do these, and it's for a variety of reasons. But as you mentioned, it goes the opposite way as well. You may also think, I want to do this, and then you may get into training and you realize, hey, this is not for me. It is important that you don't have a councillor or a mayor leave, partway through their term or early on in their term because they realize the work is too much or it's not what they thought it was going to be. So that training can identify those things early on, in the same way that it could be someone discovering that this is actually something very important to them and they want to do it. It's important because if you have a resignation, they can hold by-elections, and to be clear, by-elections are something that the Elections New Brunswick, which is funded by the provincial government, takes care of every year, and there are deadlines that are scheduled for by-election. So if you're going to resign, they should be done in accordance with those deadlines, so that a by-election can be held. To secure a new representative for a ward or for a community. And if you're curious, I know there's been some resignations in the Miramichi. I know there's been some resignations here in St. Andrews. And if you're wondering why there was no by-election, the resignations happened after the deadline. and they will not hold a by-election within 1 year of a general election, and the general election is scheduled for May of 2026.
Right, and so if you are thinking of running, I would say get out to your nearest council meeting. Go regularly. I can always tell within a year of when an election is about to start, because you see people get more curious and come out regularly to meetings to know what the community issues are and also to understand the process of how a meeting works. So it makes it more exciting for us, I would say, to
Yes.
see the community curiosity.
And you also see, your leaders that are already around the table start, campaigning a little bit. You'll notice that they're more active on their social media, or they're out, talking to people more than they were, 2 or 3 months ago. I did speak with St. Stephen Mayor Alan McEachern, who is welcoming this idea. He thinks this is a fantastic idea for some of the reasons we've already discussed. But, just understanding your roles and responsibilities is very important. And he said not every council is going to have a senior councillor that they could rely on if they have questions. Some councils, had really, green councillors or all new councils, right? So this is important work. And I also spoke with John Craig, and he said, I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still learning. And 20 years is a long time, John, to be, and he's been the mayor of 3 different municipalities. So he's got, the hat trick of municipalities, but certainly he said, if I did this for, 10 more years or 20 more years, I would still be learning. And so this is being welcomed locally, and I think it's going to be welcomed more provincially as well, because I think it's not something to be seen as a negative. It's something to see as in addition to. So this work, and we'll see whether the government provincially accepts these recommendations and is willing to implement them. The local government minister is a former chief administrative officer and communications officer for the town of Quispamsis, so he would have unique insight into what it is to run a municipality.
Well, I do welcome this in New Brunswick. I think it actually will make our job as journalists even easier to have a council that's new, even briefed about what our role is in democracy and how they serve the public and we serve the public, but we have 2 different roles with ultimately a great goal in mind.
Well, that's where the right to information and protection of privacy kind of comes into it, because we file right to information and protection of privacy. But there was a case, in near Fredericton, where a CAO had been formally charged for withholding information. So it's that's where that kind of comes into it. But certainly, media training is something that the Union of Municipalities is also participating in. So just like, how do you speak to a journalist? How do you arrange an interview? And you'll actually notice that some municipalities have what they call communications coordinators, who work with the media to, get press releases or arrange interviews. I kind of think like that's an extra person, but I'm happy to just call you on the phone.
Yeah, and also it's true, and it's in smaller communities, you might have a full-time job and do council as the side job that you do. So this training can be really beneficial when it's not the hat you're wearing all day long, to just make sure that you're ready to take on that added responsibility in your part-time life as well. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will be going to the Seniors Expo at the Garceland in St. Stephen.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth.
So you got to take a trip to the Seniors Expo, and I'm excited to find out what you learned.
It was a great time. I've been to the first Seniors Expo in 2024, which was right here in the W.C. O'Neill Arena. It's organized by the Charlotte County Seniors Resource Center. I think everyone knows Emma Keats. She's quite a familiar face across Charlotte County. So she was taking the lead on this, had a lot of help from the staff and volunteers as well, but she did a wonderful job last year, and they had 28 information booths, service providers, clubs here. This year they moved it to the Garceland, because the idea of the Charlotte County Senior Center is that while it is based in the Wellness Center in St. Andrews, it really does service all of Charlotte County. This year they knew the expo would be bigger. They also thought what a great opportunity to move it to another community in Charlotte County. So they went to the Garceland in St. Stephen. And instead of 28 booths this year, it was 41. So a packed house. On top of that, there was a complimentary seniors cafe. I'm not going to lie, it was my favorite part. Just nice coffee, snacks. You got to talk with people after. I sat with Stan Chopdiati and Sylvia Humphreys, who had driven in from St. Andrews, and they were at a table, so I joined them for some cookies and coffee. Just heard what they thought of the expo. So it was a really neat time. I stayed a lot longer than probably everyone at work knows I stayed, because I was having so much fun. And hundreds of people came out. So it was also, from connecting people with each other and the different organizations that were there, it also connected people to just new friends and new faces.
Yeah, we've done a lot of reporting with the Charlotte County Seniors Resource Center, and I'm going to do a throwback in time to when Aiden was here. And we actually talked about a lot of the expansive work that they've done in Charlotte County now. They have satellite offices throughout Charlotte County. They visit the islands, which is very important work because there are seniors who live on the island. And they've also started working with the Nursing Home Without Walls program. And that's a very interesting program that allows seniors to stay in their homes longer. And we've been talking a lot by we, I mean, New Brunswickers, about the strain on the healthcare system, the strain in long-term care. In fact, there's just an update from the Advocate in New Brunswick to speak about how, there's no real clear guidelines for what's acceptable in long-term care. So there's a lot of work to be done. Mm-hmm. But Nursing Home Without Walls allows seniors to stay in their home for longer, and they've actually done a lot of that work. And we were able to go interview somebody who participates in that program, and they're doing a lot of really hard work here in St. Andrews to make things better. So it's very interesting. And Premier Susan Holt, when announcing some of the things and talking about the urgent bed requests that both Vitalité and Horizon Health made, she said, we're not able to keep ahead of the wave of the aging population. So the work that they're doing on the ground in the community is very important.
And they were at the expo. They had one of the booths there, and I think that was part of the point too, was the idea that there would be nursing homes without walls. There'd be the Willow Center. There would be Dial-A-Ride, but there would also be clubs like the Spin Drifters here in St. Andrews, one of my favorite clubs because they walk by my house in the morning. I get to say hi to everybody. And that was the neat thing, is taking this ecosystem of senior resources, putting them all together so that people in the community are aware of what exists. Because sometimes in a rural community too, some things are word of mouth. It's hard to even find when you move somewhere. There might be a club and you didn't see the poster and you weren't even aware that it was part of the community. It's not as Googleable as things in a big city. And again, not everyone has a computer to Google things. So that was the neat thing, is that people were able to see what exists, because it might also be that it's hubbed in a different town. In Charlotte County, it might be something in St. George, but they satellite in St. Stephen or St. Andrews. But it introduced those organizations to each other, so that while some might be strained for, be it volunteers or staff, when you can see the clear ecosystem that exists in your region and make those connections, then maybe being a little short on something isn't a big deal, because you can see where you can reach a hand out, make a connection, provide those services in tandem with someone else.
Who were you able to talk to when you were there? Like, who were you speaking to?
The first person I talked to is the one and only Emma Keach, because I wanted to get her perspective on this year's expo and what she learned from the year before and what she put together for 2025.
So we're thrilled today. We have a wonderful turnout. We have 41 vendors here today, ranging from Red Cross to RCMP to home care agencies to Passamaquoddy Lodge to the Willow Center. Really a great group of people who give so much to the community.
We're hearing great feedback from both people at the booths and the people who've come out. What are you hearing about the success of it so far?
So we've had 120 people come in so far, so we're almost beating what we were at last year, but all positives, just lots of good information to have, and people enjoy going around and socializing too.
Tell us a little bit about the idea behind putting all these service providers and clubs together, and how it's not just about the people that come to the expo.
So it's about also everyone connecting, different service providers connecting, and also having a place that everybody, there's lots of information in one place. It's accessible for not just seniors or caregivers, but other vendors and other service providers.
This is the second one you've organized, the first one being last year. Tell us a little bit about how you grew from the first year to this.
So last year we had 28 vendors. This year we're up to 41 vendors. So growing, and hopefully we'll have even more turnout than last year. We're not even halfway through, and we're really close now.
And finally, for people who haven't had a chance yet to check out the Charlotte County Seniors Resource Center, tell us a little bit about what you offer there, where you're located, and anything else.
So at the Charlotte County Seniors Center, we offer system navigation, education. We're a resource for people. They can call up and try and find out information. We're at 24 Reed Avenue in St. Andrews.
That was Emma Keach of the Charlotte County Seniors Resource Center, who also organized the Seniors Expo in St. Stephen.
So were there any new organizations that came on board this year that weren't there last year?
There were 41 over 28, but one of the more interesting things that came to light when we were doing some of the interviews and meeting some of the booths is that there are even new additions to Charlotte County in general. So I think many people at home may have heard of the Compassionate Grief Center. You think of that as a St. John-based organization. But I actually got to meet Audrey from the Compassionate Grief Center, she actually came to find us. She recognized CHCO, came over, and she said, I need to tell you, we are now in Charlotte County. And it was really just the day before the expo that they launched in St. George.
I'm with the Compassionate Grief Center. I'm the fund development coordinator there. We are a nonprofit organization that's been in a business for 5 years now.
And tell us a little bit about what you do in Charlotte County, how long you've been in this area, and what brought you out to the expo today.
We actually just started in this area as of yesterday. We opened a grief cafe in St. George. And our plans are to merge into St. Stephen and offer eventually individual grief counseling.
Oh, tell us a little bit about the Grief Cafe in St. George. Oh, what is it and what do people experience?
Absolutely. So the cafe is open every Wednesday from 2 to 4, and it's free for anybody to go. We offer tea and coffee, and the cafe is for anybody that is experiencing grief. It's a great program that we've been offering in St. John for a few years now and had success. So just yesterday when we had it open, we've had a great turnout. So we're hoping that maintains. So yeah.
Based on the success that you've seen in St. John, what is it about this ability to get people together that proves to be helpful when dealing with grief?
I think with the cafe, what proves it to be successful is that it's consistent, it's open, but there's no commitment to it. So people can go 1 week and not the next. And, it's a drop-in style, which people love.
That was Audrey Langley from the Compassionate Grief Center while at the Seniors Expo at the Garceland Civic Center in St. Stephen.
But it wasn't all business. You had some fun as well?
I always have fun. I had a great time at the I was a little jealous that you didn't get, not jealous, I was a little sad for you that you didn't come for me. I knew you would be a bit jealous because you and I are ready to be seniors. We can't wait. But I did get to hang out with one of my favorite seniors groups, which are the Spin Drifters, because they have so much fun. I see them every morning, if I'm up early enough. They do a walker. There's a group of walkers that do a loop of St. Andrews in the morning, and they're always up to just amazing social activities. I think you can join around. I talked to Anne Harding about it. I'm getting closer to being able to join. I think they let me be an honorary member anyway, but they do so many amazing activities in the community, and I'm really looking forward to being a Spin Drifter sooner than later. Here is my interview with Anne Harding.
We're a 50-plus group out of St. Andrews, but people from outside St. Andrews can also join. We offer cards and games, weekly walks, tours, lunches, just a good time to get together and stay happy and healthy. And speaking of healthy, we offer exercise group twice a week at the O'Neill Center. And it's run by a licensed physiotherapist, so we are very happy to support that for our seniors. And we are a party group. We just get together and have a good time.
What are your favorite parts about being involved with Spin Drifters?
Meeting new people and connecting with people and finding how much we have in common. I also love the exercise group. and the morning walks, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do a 5K walk, and it's wonderful. You get to know so many people doing that.
That was Ann Harding of Spinsters at the Seniors Expo in St. Stephen.
But they were able to hold it at the Garthland Civic Center, which is a great facility. I know that you spoke with Mayor McEachern about why they chose that facility in particular.
I mean, I think anyone who's been to the Garthland knows what an incredible place it is. We've been lucky enough to use the Garthland when we do election events, when we do meet the candidates. So it really gives you that big space so that everyone who wants to take part in it has a seat to watch what you're putting on. Same can be said for the Seniors Expo. I can't really think of that many places in Charlotte County that could be able to house such a big event and also have the space for a cafe. So really it is this central hub that we are all so blessed to have in Charlotte County, even though it is home to in St. Stephen. I feel like all of us have an attachment to it because there's so much Charlotte County that happens at the Garthland Civic Center. Here's what Alan McEachern had to say about the Seniors Expo and also being able to host it right at the Garthland.
But it's obviously is needed, and it's good to have this brought all together so our seniors and our communities understand what's available to them, and not only that, how to action those things too, and to get the support on filling out paperwork and the applications and all those sorts of things. So it's really good to have all our providers here that help guide them through that.
The Garthland has been a hub for a lot of really great community events that bring groups and support givers all in one place, not just seniors but other expos as well. What does it mean to you to have a location like this where you're able to offer these kind of events for not just St. Stephen but all of Charlotte County?
Yeah, well, we love having this facility. It's a great place to bring people together and provide this service to our community, you know, on all aspects. And it's nice to see that parking lot full, and you know, the bustling of people in our community, and I'm sure they'll get out and enjoy the waterfront while they're here. No, it is good to have this Garthland Civic Center to provide this venue for things like this and bring people together for sure.
That was our interview with St. Stephen Mayor Alan McEachern at the Seniors Expo at the Garthland.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at 10 new cell towers that are being installed in New Brunswick and a $5,000 winner for TV Bingo.
I really enjoy it. I said, whether I win or lose, I enjoy playing TV Bingo.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. So the province has partnered with Bell Canada to install 10 new cell towers, and they're going to use existing equipment to build these up. And why this is important is it's for rural cell coverage. And you've lived in St. Andrews, and I've heard from the council specifically here about kind of the difficulties around having quality cell service.
Oh, you know firsthand. Sometimes Nathalie is on Mowat Drive here, and when we have to call each other at night, we have to do FaceTime because of your reception. So that gives you an idea of just how challenging it is for a news journalist to not be able to use her cell phone from home. It's a little crazy.
Yes, and really it's, you know, about the amount of towers, because what's happening is there's a large influx of people that come into St. Andrews and Charlotte County for that matter in the summer, and so they're taking a lot of that bandwidth away from the cell towers that do exist. And so a problem that is, you know, minorly bad in the winter is then exacerbated. Actually, we wrote about this exact issue back in April when MLA Kathy Baucus made an impassioned plea to the government to start working on this problem. Essentially, she described the story of a young man who was late coming home. His family got very worried about him. They couldn't find him. He was missing. And it had turned out that his car had gone off the road in an area where there was no cell service. And so he was unable to use his phone. And when they found him, he was at the rear of the car. And he had the cell phone in his hand. And so she said to the minister, Renee Legacy, who made this announcement, you know, so if he had been able to reach somebody, would he still be alive? And that's a very big if question. And at the time, the minister said, you know, if we were to try to fix everything right now, it would cost $100 million. And $100 million on top of everything else the government is trying to accomplish, could potentially add to the deficit. But rural cell coverage is significant. And actually, I went back to the government to ask, like, how did you decide these particular areas? Because it's going to be important to note that only one of those cell towers will actually be added to Charlotte County, and it's in Oak Hill, which is firmly within the municipal district of St. Stephen. So potentially it does boost this particular area as well. We won't know until it's there, and construction isn't slated to start until 2026 and be completed by mid-2027, so you're still going to be faced with those problems. But I did go back to the government to ask them about that, and they spoke about, the criteria of certain existing equipment, already government-owned towers, and a report that they had done internally that was never really formalized, that was provided to the Government of Canada and industry, the telecommunications industry, which is Bell Canada, Rogers, Eastlink, and some of their subsidiaries, to show them where the gaps in the coverage actually was. And they, I asked them, did you consult with municipalities? Because I've listened to the Chief Administrative Officer Chris Spear talk about trying to engage the government in a conversation about improving cell coverage in St. Andrews. And so I asked them, did you consult? And they said residents and stakeholders and municipalities were consulted through their MLAs. So the MLAs gave feedback about their areas in terms of the cell coverage.
Okay, I feel like all of Charlotte County, if we got together, we could make a map. I know that I do the road to Fredericton so often that I think I know in my head exactly where I'm not able to get reception. It's quite significant. It's a pretty long period of time.
Well, and yes, and that was part of the assessment that was done, part of that, non-formalized report that I haven't been able to get access to, was looking at for how long someone is without cell service. And so, there are areas in this province where you can go up to 20 minutes without a cell signal, which is way too long. And so they've started to identify those gaps, and it's going to cost a lot of money, but they've partnered with one of Canada's largest telecommunication companies to undertake that work. So hopefully it's helpful to the cell service. I'm not sure, that remains to be seen, but we will be following the story. And obviously if the local MLA is continuing to advocate for that, it's going to be part of our coverage.
Okay, well, we also have some good news to end on this week for one of our loyal TV bingo players. And I'd like to stress this to people at home. This is one of the ways we fund the TV station, so that this nonprofit, independent, hyper-local TV station and newspaper now that we have the Courier as part of our under our umbrella of CHCO and as a nonprofit, part of the way we fund it is for the people, by the people, to keep this the independent nonprofit it is. We do weekly TV bingo, and it really is it is the wildest night of the week here. It's the day of the week. We also have students from the local high schools. They really run the show. They do all the tech side of things. They're in the control room. That's where they learn their training, and that's sort of where we get our next summer students from too, which is always exciting to watch them grow up and then graduate to summer student to then go on. But it is a special night here, but it's also very special when someone from the Charlotte County area wins a pretty big prize. And Barb Noftel of St. Stephen
won the biggest prize
in a while. Not the biggest prize of all in the history, but a big one. So essentially that last game, which is a coverall game, has a jackpot of $5,000. But if you go past ball 50, it starts to drop and drop dramatically because Patrick makes those rules. But Barb won it on ball 50, and I don't have to tell you, that's incredibly lucky. So she won $5,000.
I thought I must have made a mistake. And kind of glanced at it and thought, nope, and I started pushing my recall button to call in. And then when she said it was $5,000, I thought I was going to pass out. I was so excited.
Tell us a little bit about who you play with when you play TV bingo and where you play.
Sometimes I have a friend or two there, but lately I've been playing by myself. But I share with my little granddaughter. I have to give Beckett something out of this. So She's getting $100 out of it, whether she knows it or not. She's going to get a $100 bill.
And you won, let's see, just 2 weeks ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
Weeks ago that I won the full card. Just $500, the carryover.
Okay, because people like to know where lucky tickets come from. So did you buy that ticket where?
Riverside Grocery. That's where I buy all my tickets, Riverside Grocery. I said they're a small business and they're struggling, same as everybody else. So I'd sooner give them my money and give them the business.
You heard it here first.
Right.
Two jackpot wins for the same person from Riverside Grocery in the last 2 weeks. That's incredible. What are you going to do with $5,000? You're giving $100 to your granddaughter. What about the $4,900?
I'm just going to bank it, see what comes up. Got to have a couple new tires on the car, so I'll just play with it. What comes up and keep on playing bingo.
Your son says you've been playing so long you probably broke even with it. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been playing and why you love it.
For years. I used to go to bingo 7 nights a week. And then when COVID and that hit, I just quit going to all the bingos and just start playing the radio bingo on Monday nights at home and the TV bingo. And that's my special one because I can sit there and watch it on TV. So I really like it.
Do you have any favorite parts of bingo? We love to hear about what the feedback is from the community. What do you love about CHCO TV bingo?
Oh, it's easy. It's easy. You can stay home in your pajamas and play TV bingo. But I really enjoy it. I said, whether I win or lose, I enjoy playing TV bingo. And I enjoy seeing all of you fellows there. I know you all to see you. You don't know me, but I know you fellows all to see you.
Well, we definitely know you now, Barb. Do you have any good luck charms? What keeps you so lucky?
No, I do it for my little granddaughter, Beckett. I keep her in mind.
That was $5,000 CHCO TV bingo winner, Barb Naftel of St. Stephen. She says she loves it. She looks forward to Tuesday night every week, and I know that it really is a community event across the province.
Well, we look forward to sharing your winnings with you and the experience with you. We are here every Tuesday night, and I don't plan on going anywhere. So good luck to everybody who continues to play CHCO TV bingo. We're going to look ahead just quickly. We have a lot of things on the agenda. People are back to school, so things are starting to get back to a little bit of normal. Councils are returning to their regular schedules. Some councils actually reduce their number of meetings just because people are on vacation and the availability is a bit different. So we're going to start to see a ramp up of councils. I'm very excited. I love municipal council, so I'm excited to see that back in trend. I have several RTIPAs. 2 are sitting on my desk. 1 is currently in process. So I'm working on some larger term long form stories. So hopefully we'll have some progress on those as well.
Okay, and I am looking forward to bringing the RCMP in again. We will have Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Peters joining us again. He will be bringing with him Sergeant Pierre Ladesseur, who is new to Charlotte County, so you get to meet him here on TV. I know he's already making rounds in the schools because each officer is also assigned a school in Charlotte County, which I think is awesome to really get the community young connected to the local officers. But we do regular check-ins with the RCMP, so they come in, talk about what is currently their priorities, what trends they're seeing in the community, and if you do have questions for the RCMP for future episodes, you can always reach us, or for anything here, at the email news@chco.tv. Reaches all of us on the news team, but we love to hear from you. And I'm also going to have Jamie Steele and Emma Keach in to talk about A Day for the Ages. That will be on October 25th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena. Now, this is for St. Andrew's Age Friendly Committee is putting it on, and it's about putting together, with the community in mind, and an intergenerational group of people from our community to decide what the next priority should be for the next 5 years. So to give you an idea of what they've been able to accomplish with the first Day for the Ages that they did years back, that was before we had the Wellness Center, the Seniors Resource Center, the Seniors Expo that Emma has since put on. plans for the Passamaquoddy Lodge that are now well underway. So this will be a really important time for people in the community to come out of all ages. You and I might just be there because we're planning way ahead. Me, not as way ahead as you. But it will be an interesting way to give feedback and to maybe see ideas that you might have put into action for seniors and making a community that is so intergenerationally intertwined.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on This Week Uncut. We'll see you next week. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth.